All right, we're back. Chains and robots here for this season of GSL Code S. We are here in Group B. We already finished up Group A. It was actually an incredible set of games.
Oh, yeah, that final game, too. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't watched the VODs yet, but you do not want to miss specifically the last map of Group A. Was just one of the best games that I have personally seen in a very long time. You know, at least my favorite game this year.
Yeah, for sure this year. Honestly, I mean, I've done over, 12 years of GSL. That was one of the best games I've seen. I really enjoyed it. I think Group B is going to be a delight as well. And I'm just excited to get this going here. This GSL, we have had to downsize a little bit. We are only 16 players, so we go through these 4 groups, and we rapidly move over to the finals. No studio audience, by the way, if you're watching and planning on coming down and seeing this, with the exception of the final day.
Yeah, and the final day should be exciting, too. We're going to have semifinals and finals.
Yep,
all
super
live,
tournament style.
One night, live audience, back in the GSL studio. I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait to get there and see which players are going to qualify, who's going to show up here in the first season of GSL this year.
Yeah, and so if you're watching from home, don't come down to the studio. Unfortunately, we did have some people that came in yesterday, and they had some sad looks on their faces, and we told them we could not have an audience. But, yeah. And if you're watching online, for the best viewing experience, go to the URL below. That's on the Africa TV website. I think if you're watching on YouTube now, it's like there's a frame around the picture. So if you don't want that frame, go to that URL down there.
Got to break free of those chains, man. Those YouTube
these chains.
The same chains
These
that are right
chains
behind
are a metaphor for you looking through that frame right now. So the way to free yourself is to go to that URL. And as we were mentioning earlier, we've downsized here. We're now relying on community support. It's patreon.com/GSL. There's 2 ways to support this show. You can either support on the Africa TV site. That's where you buy star balloons and you donate the star balloons. Think of that as like the currency for the Excite, the website, not the Excite, excuse me. Or you can go on Patreon and donate in whatever currency you're using to support that. And that does come with perks.
Yeah, and a lot of cool perks like there. Like $30 tier really stands out to me. I mean, getting replays from the GSL games is actually so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a thrill. And you get behind-the-scenes interview videos, player profiles, and for the champion, of course, secured tickets, guaranteed tickets to the finals. You don't have to worry about those selling out. Of course, that is first come, first serve. And, of course, all the proceeds from this crowdfunding is going directly to the players. It's going to support the prize pool here at the GSL. And so far, in total, almost $9,000 raised across Africa TV and Patreon.
Very cool to see here. So we really do appreciate the support. 100% of that goes to the pros, minus the little percentage cut that Patreon takes for facilitating that. So we really appreciate the support, guys. And look, this is the way that pretty much everything with StarCraft is going to be for now. By the way, you're going to get your Patreon perks on Monday if you signed up over there. But yeah, this is like the state that we're in here for StarCraft, and we're very grateful to be able to rely on community support from people like you. Yeah,
the community has stepped up in a really big way, not just here at the GSL, but across StarCraft as a whole, crowdfunding a variety of online tournaments, supporting the Korean scene, supporting the global scene, and, it's heartwarming to see because when the news came out that, everything was going to get cut back a little bit.
Yeah. Well, this is just, it's weird because we were used to the old model, but the truth is this is kind of the new model for the whole internet now.
Yeah, I guess so.
Is kind of community support and connecting with fans directly, whether you're a streamer or an event or something like that. So, it's definitely a change from the past, but I think it's also, the truth is this is how a lot of things going forward are going to be, not just, the StarCraft scene. So you can see already we've got 2 Terrans advancing here from Group A. That brings us now to Group B. By the way, our schedule is always going to be Tuesday and Thursday.
Right, Tuesday and Thursday, leading all the way up there to the finals. As today, we're going to be having an interesting group. herO, KeeN, Cure, and Solar. Solar now, I think, only the 2nd Zerg remaining here in the GSL Code S after Dongre Gu was eliminated on day 1.
Yeah, it's funny because we're having the opposite story for ASL where there were so many Zergs coming through. I'm kind of weirdly delighted as we've been casting ASL as well as GSL to be like, all right, some less Zergs over here. The universe is balancing this out. But in all seriousness, Zerg has been the most successful race in StarCraft 2, especially in Legacy of the Void. We've had many, many Zerg champions. It looks like this is a season where that is not likely to be the outcome.
I feel like it's more likely we'll see Terrans continue to dominate a little bit here in the first season of GSL, but who knows? Maybe some of the Zergs remaining and like Solar here in Group B might come up and surprise us. I mean, Solar last year in GSL had a lot of very good performances, even winning the Super Tournament to close out the year. That was GSL Super Tournament 2, I think, last year. And that was a ZBZ as well up there against Dark. So, I mean, there really has been, you know, a trend of Zerg success for a couple of years now. And
it's been a good race. I mean, you know, I think there's a lot of great players playing it, obviously, but also we see creep and we see the power that gives the Zergs. We are seeing Terrans and Protosses, you know, excuse me, they've been labbing it out quite a bit. And I think that's why we have so many good-looking, as far as play goes, Terran and Protoss play. Good-looking in other ways, too. I mean, they're all handsome guys. Don't get me wrong. But this is already a pretty interesting season in that it is not that Zerg lopsided. We could still have a Zerg in the finals.
It wouldn't surprise
me. The two guys that we have left over.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent still left. I mean, we got 2 Terrans advancing there from Group A, so we'll have to see what Group B has in store for us today. Is herO, I mean, one of the players you have to look out for here, one of the favorites to advance from Group B, but boy, does he have his work cut out for him. Solar, KeeN, KeeN stand in his way from advancing to the round of 8.
I'll tell you what, he wins the best room I've seen so far.
That's nice.
Look at that nice setup of shelves. He's got little gamer mice there.
Yeah, look at all those mice.
Yeah,
I almost want to make a joke like this is what I would expect to see like Creator.
Yeah,
like counting all the mice,
all the dead mice from his previous tournament.
That's so cool that he has. It's probably his whole StarCraft career of mice right there.
And his package has been delivered, which is good. I'm glad it got there over there in the back.
Little mystery box.
This is fun though, since they're playing from home. We're like, okay, what's the setup look like?
God, you could do some fun ceremonies. You know, having this at home. Like, imagine, like, herO, like, he wins this group, and he goes out and he opens up the box, and it's like a little trophy for winning Group B or something funny like that. Like, confetti pops out of it.
That's right.
Yeah, but it is kind of cool. Getting this glimpse into the players' lives here, seeing where they're playing at. This is another nice room. I like that plant right there by KeeN. I think I have a similar plants in my apartment.
Oh, it's good to have some plants in the apartment, for sure. Here we see KeeN in his place. Now, KeeN, look, he's maybe the weakest player in the round of 16. He's been around forever, by the way.
Yeah, one of the OGs.
One of the true OGs. I remember the first year of StarCraft 2 casting this guy. He's been with us. He's stayed strong. And the fact that he's in this round of 16 is really exciting. It shows that he can still hang with the best. You know, when we have to start to reduce the number of players overall in a GSL, you know, a lot of times it's players like KeeN we would expect to kind of disappear off the map, but both Nightmare and KeeN have managed to qualify. Obviously, Nightmare is out now, but let's see what KeeN has to offer.
Yeah, going from a 20-player pool to a 16-player pool here, it's impressive that KeeN was able to make it, especially only qualifying for Code S, I think, one time last year. But here he is in the first season of 2023, already qualified. So maybe we'll see, you know, a little bit more life out of him this year, you know, as we saw in day one, that kind of intro video that we had to the GSL that got us both a little bit emotional.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of these players, they really want to give it their all right here in 2023 and give the best possible performance they can. They're not, I mean, of course, it's downsizing. It always sucks.
It always sucks. You know, it's a necessary adjustment for the situation, the situations that can arise that make it possible for the tournament to continue on, right? This does cost money to put on. And does require a lot of manpower, and so that was the call we had to make. And you're right, hearing those players kind of talking and feeling like this kind of feels like the end of them, and the fact that they're even more hungry than before. You know, some of these guys have been in GSLs over a decade and haven't won yet.
Yeah, from their 20s into their 30s, they've truly grown up with this game, and it was one of the scary things was, you know, with downsizing like this in StarCraft, are players going to be less motivated? Is there going to be less competition? But you ask the players themselves, and the opposite is true. They want more than ever to kind of go out here on a high note, give some of the best performance they can here in 2023 GSL. Is getting ready to go into Neo Humanity here. herO versus KeeN starting things out here in Group B, match number 1, GSL Code S.
All right, let's do this, guys. Team 1, ready to go.
DKZ Gaming, herO.
It's really twisted headphones.
Oh, I didn't
really
notice
bothers
that.
me.
I was looking at the preview monitor watching.
It looks like a long braided
Quantum
small
Freaks,
beard coming off of his
KeeN.
chin.
Huh. I was trying to keep tabs on this little probe that's moving across the minimap that our observer will highlight in a moment. Here it is on screen. This was an instant probe scout here for herO, and for a moment I was, he's had some kind of crazy builds lately. He's played a lot of online cups, in the time period between IM Katowice and then GSL Code S. And he's really been mixing it up in terms of strategy. He's come with some really zany stuff. So I was thinking we might even see something like a Max Packs opening or a proxy gateway, but no, instead it's just going to be herO coming over here to KeeN space as early as possible, being as annoying as possible here with this probe. And against a player like KeeN who, on paper, you're going to feel comfortable coming up against this guy. You should expect to win this match as herO. Perhaps this choice of early scouting him is just like, all right, I'm not going to be caught or duped by anything here. I'm going to get the guaranteed scout, and if there are no surprises, I will just ride my skill to a win.
Yeah, I think he just, he doesn't want to get proxy raxed. This is always true. It's been true even before StarCraft 2, way back in the early days of StarCraft 1. When it looks like there's a mismatch, even maybe you've experienced this online where you feel like you're the weaker player, you're going up against somebody who's much stronger. The temptation to try to do an all-in is always there, right? That doesn't go around. That does not go away in the top 16 of GSL. And so herO basically deciding, okay, I'm better. Let me just make sure he's not cheesing me. Okay, he's not good. I'm going to play whatever game I want to come in here with.
Yeah, so herO able to confirm. Reaper expand there for KeeN is herO now just going to move across the map, go to this watchtower, get a little bit more vision. We'll be able to spot that Reaper coming in. As KeeN also might be a little bit curious about what herO's up to with that probe after it loses his base, but luckily for him, able to find out exactly where it is heading. That probe will get cleaned up inevitably here as herO is going for his Stargate back at home.
Okay, he's going to snipe down that one probe. Stargate's, it's pretty normal, right? Nothing crazy going on just yet. herO has shown some really wild approaches to the matchup. But the thing about herO is he's really able to reinvent himself. He does seem to be a player that is kind of, we talked about Nightmare a little bit like this yesterday, but I think it's really true with herO. And it shows itself in an array of different colors in that he really is kind of figuring out his own approach to the game without much input from other players.
Yeah, when herO came back, Kratos was in a very bad position. It's a Phoenix that we have right here. So
yeah,
coming down that avenue that you're talking about with herO kind of going a little bit offbeat here, not opting for the Oracles, and actually going to let these two Adepts finish. So he's going to try and deny a little bit of mining time. Unfortunately, was not able to pick off that SCV, needing one more shot.
Oh my God.
To clear it.
He's going to get that lifted up in time. I'm like, this would be the worst thing ever if he just got inside the main. It looks like now the Marines and Reapers are going to have to try to close in on the few Adepts that are here. Honestly, this is pretty good to basically just deny some mining and then pull away. Great micro by KeeN, actually. Both Adepts do get away. He's been pooling the Phoenixes, which means he doesn't want to show the Phoenixes just yet because obviously a Phoenix is not the first thing that comes to mind in this match, certainly not on two bases like we've had so far. So when he shows these, it has to be at a moment when he's ready to execute the plans he wants to have. Now, we know a lot of Terrans like to do quick drops against Protoss. I mean, it's not uncommon to have Widowmine drops come in masse, and this could be a good way to basically absorb that and shut it down. But we don't have any drops coming in this game so far.
Yeah, so these Phoenixes are going to be a little bit sad by not having any medevacs to snipe on their way over into his base. But this is a style that herO, as of late, has been quite comfortable to play. He often will mix in one or two Immortals and try to use that to bridge the gap from this early game into getting to, a little bit of a Phoenix Colossus composition. Now KeeN with that Reaper Scout will confirm that it is Phoenixes. And if you're KeeN, I think you're feeling pretty happy about this. You're not committing to drops, which could have potentially gotten caught there by the Phoenixes doing no damage. Instead, you're going for a Siege tank and mostly Marine composition here to start things out, which has a lot of firepower that can be difficult for those Phoenixes to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, when you have nothing but Marines underneath the Siege tank, by the way, full scout here with this Adept, so he knows exactly what's coming. When you have a bunch of Marines underneath a Siege tank, the Phoenixes can't get in there and pick it up, and the Phoenixes aren't going to be useful picking up Marines either. So this is a setup to have a very strong push that's going to come out here and fight the Protoss. And I'm looking at this, I'm seeing herO taking a third base. I'm a little bit worried. He might get beat up pretty bad when this push comes out.
Yeah, we'll see. Looks like KeeN now is going to be opting for going for Widow Mines as opposed to Siege Tank. So just the one Siege Tank going to be kind of linchpinning his defense there back at home, as herO has proven time and time again that he is a fearsome opponent to go against in terms of dealing with his aggression. You can kind of see KeeN showing a little bit of respect there with his opening builds. And this is one of the features of this map I like a lot, actually, here on Neo Humanity, is all 4 of these cooling towers share the same hit points pool.
Yeah.
And once you actually knock those down, it's 4 destructible rocks that not only narrows the gap should you break through on one side, but also closes it entirely for at least a moment.
It's a good move there to try to curb progress in a push that would be coming across the map. We obviously don't have that just yet. I thought the push was going to come a little bit sooner, by the way. I was wrong. There's actually a 3rd command center being made here. And that's fine here for KeeN. I mean, he's still looking to be in good shape, but it also means that the Nexus that's already been taken here for herO will be gone unpunished.
And herO just going to slowly transition into Colossus. First Colossus about halfway done now, as we have a bit of a slower game right now. Now, KeeN, I was also expecting him to be moving across the map a little bit earlier than it seems like he's getting ready to do. But perhaps just doesn't want to try his luck too bad, because if you take a bad engagement against Phoenixes, oftentimes those can snowball in ways that are not favorable for you. Is here herO finding a nice window, actually going to pick off a Widow Mine and 2 Marines, so that's a nice catch for him. Good use of those Phoenix energy.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to get some value out of them, right? The push is going to come down. There is 2 Immortals and a Colossus ready here. Zealot Charge is far from finished, so I like the fact that these 4 Phoenixes are becoming a bit of a nuisance, but I am worried about this push that's coming out here and how exactly this is going to be dealt with, because this is going to be in range to start to shell the Nexus. So basically Protoss has to come in here and take this out immediately before it can really be utilized.
Oh, here we go. KeeN charging in right there. Some force fields, you know, buying here some time, excuse me, as it looks like he's going to be able to hold on for now.
Yeah, he kind of baited out the disable there on the Colossus a little bit earlier. I gotta say, Terran looks scary, but I think when this disable's done, I think the Colossi could start to chisel away at this. The Guardian Shield's gonna come down. The Phoenixes do pick up because the Marines are retreating. They're not able to cover that. And I gotta say, a very graceful takedown of the push from the Terran. herO not overextending, biding his time. We've got Phoenixes. These could go right into these 2 medevacs that are moving out, but hold on, they unload right now.
Yep, KeeN unloading those medevacs, getting ready to take that 3rd base right there. As you know, losing the Raven and not getting too much value out of it with those disables on the Colossus does hurt him quite a bit. I think that KeeN wanted to trade a little bit more cost efficiently there. You're hard pressed to actually take out the Protoss 3rd base in a situation where you're going for a 3rd CC yourself, because obviously that's money that isn't being spent on being aggressive. But herO just being such a nuisance with these Phoenixes, continuously picking off Widow Mines, and if he can manage that, going for a Charge Zealot Colossus Phoenix composition, if the Widow Mine count stays down, his army composition as herO suddenly becomes way more powerful.
I think you're right. I do think there's going to be a moment where herO can now come out on the map and really start to try to do some real damage over here to this base. We have the Terran pushing down. Well, hold on. These Phoenixes are actually killing off quite a bit of Marines. You can see that he's actually got the count high up enough that he can just start to thin out the reinforcements. But here's the push I wanted to talk about. Down at 6 o'clock. It looks like he might be ready for a fight. And that might be a great time to come in if the Protoss is leaving. The scan makes herO think otherwise.
Yep, herO now teching into High Templar tech. We'll see if he goes for Storm or just decides to mix in some Archons. As you know, both options seem quite good with how well he's been able to keep the Widow Mine count under control here for KeeN. KeeN continuing to move across the map, but so far, herO's economy largely uninterrupted. There was a little bit of pressure there on his 3rd base, but it didn't disrupt mining time too much. herO was able to dispatch it after, what, 15 seconds, and now he's taking his 4th base. He's starting to mix in some disruptors. He's already gotten, I mean, all of the value you could possibly hope to get out of the small handful of Phoenixes that he made. And I'm liking his position a lot here. I think KeeN is going to be hard-pressed to try and find an opportunity to get damage now that herO is starting to fire on all cylinders.
Okay, so the push is coming, and so is this drop. He could actually warp it. Oh my god, big Widow Mine hit there on the warp prism. I can't talk. He's going to bring a few more Zealots in. The Terran actually has good instinct and scans right in the middle of the map, seeing the hallucinated Colossus. There's a counterattack coming down now for Terran. This is about to get really crazy.
Yeah, this is going to be a dicey situation right now as KeeN kind of Going for the base trade situation here, not feeling confident enough to take on the army here for herO dead on. That's going to force a recall, so herO reinforcing here in the third base. Phoenix is picking up a lot of these units, but these medevacs, they're not going to be able to get away from the Phoenixes. They boost, but the Phoenixes are so quick already to get sniped.
They're so full, and I think what was a pretty even game up until now is going to go very much in a Protoss direction. I mean, he shut down everything. There just wasn't that much value gained with that drop, and the fact that he's continuously been making these Phoenixes has really paid off in moments where he can start to swing the fight. He's also filling in all of his tech, so herO should pretty soon here be able to actually push out and deny a fourth. And speaking of fourth base, we see over at 9 o'clock, that's exactly where KeeN's going to try to expand.
So KeeN going for that fourth base, herO comfortable enough to throw down a fifth one as he's starting to open up these passageways in the center of the map. And I like that idea from KeeN. He's scanned, he saw herO's army, he's like, okay, I do not want to deal with that coming in on my third base right now. Let's try and counterattack, but he was just a little bit too slow to get out of that situation. The recall came in from herO, cleaned up absolutely everything, and a 20 supply lead now for herO means that KeeN is not in the best position, and with the Phoenix count as high as it is too, he just swipes in here, gets 7 SCVs, and yeah, there is some hull damage there from the Widow Mine, but herO takes that trade any day of the week, and this Protoss army is getting so complex, so high tech, that I don't know exactly how KeeN is going to be able to try and pull this apart. I mean, he is now mixing in some ghosts, but
yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I think that we're at the point of no return here for the Protoss. I mean, KeeN could try to do something, but I think eventually we're going to have this big battering ram of a push, and even if Terran tries to do a drop somewhere, it's just going to trigger a recall. I mean, herO right now coming in with the classic setup with the big push down here and the small warp prism up into the main to warp in as many zealots as possible. He can only warp one in with the supply that he's got, but I'm sure as his fight continues on, he can warp in a couple more.
KeeN trying to get the pounce on this army over here at the 9 o'clock position will force a couple of disruptor shots. Now, there aren't too many zealots warping in here because herO is maxed, so he is going to try and pull that warp prism away. It doesn't look like he has shuttle speed, so he will speed his way all the way to his third base, but actually a bunker with 4 Marines will take that out. And herO with another good recall here, going to retreat from what was not a favorable position back to his natural expansion.
I love the play to take 12 o'clock here. He knows eventually, Protoss is going to have to try, or Terran, excuse me, is going to have to try to expand into there. So far, so good here for herO. By the way, I got to give KeeN, I got to sing him a little bit of praise here. He's actually playing much better than I thought. He is going toe-to-toe with herO now.
Especially after a couple early hiccups, too, to have the game stabilize as well as it has for KeeN is a feat in and of itself. And one thing I am worried about, though, is his army composition, specifically this one right here, does not win that fight against that Protoss army just ahead of it. And KeeN's scanning, he does know this. It's a very precarious position here, but he has to try and make something happen. He has to be active on the map. And unfortunately for him, it feels like herO really doesn't have that many weaknesses. Now EMP is coming in on the shield batteries. Overcharge will be forced and will shoo this away.
I don't think I've ever quite casted that move right there.
No. Oh no, Tasteless. I think this army might get caught here.
Yeah, this is looking bad. Remember, Phoenixes are there, then the medevacs can be hunted. He's going to be able to gun down some of them, but it looks like they'll all be able to unload, so some more damage over here on herO's sides of things.
Yeah, herO not quite having the momentum there where the Phoenix is losing a bit of speed. That's going to result in some probe loss here, but I think herO, with the bank that he has, he doesn't mind losing these 10 probes that much at all. He just cleaned up a fat chunk of KeeN's army. He's going to remax on even more power, even more zealots, even more colossi, and it's going to be difficult for KeeN to stop the counter push, which I feel like at this point, especially given the banks, is almost inevitable.
Terran do have this problem I call the quadrant problem, where they really can't get out of their quadrant of the map to expand. They're not erased. I mean, you see it sometimes. I mean, I've casted Maro's games, guys, I know, but most of the time, they have a hard time getting out of that little square corner of the map. And so Protoss can do it a little bit more liberally. I think Zerg obviously have it the easiest by making creep highways, and Protoss is their hook is that they have recall and warp in, so they can manage it a little bit better. Medevacs are obviously very fast, but incomparable to like a creep highway or warp in. And so the fact that herO's just kind of growing into these spots that Terran can't really prevent is getting scary. And this center expansion, I don't know how wise this is for the Terran. I feel like it's so pokeable for the Protoss.
I think right now KeeN feels like he's up against the ropes, and he just wants to fortify the center position because that's where he wants to kind of park his army and just try to weather the storm here, as he should know, given the situation, that herO is in a pretty commanding position. Now we have a DT hit squad coming out. DT Blink, I think, is now done. So, yep, Blink is confirmed right there. He's going to start trying to snipe down some planetaries. KeeN with a nice counterattack here at the 2 o'clock, able to take down that base. Actually, going for this middle nexus, too. So, starting to slow herO down just a bit. These are the moves that he needs to make if he wants to start a comeback.
Okay, he's going to come in here with that Blink right on top of the planetary. There's just nothing you can do repair-wise to stop this. By the way, this is a crazy first game to have things start off. We do have the push coming out now. Archon starting to damage some of these Vikings. 2 Warp Prisms.
Double Warp Prism.
Wow, coming out. The DTs are eventually going to be cleaned up, but of course he can fill this in immediately. There's so many minerals available. He could warp in and max out with Zealots right now. A counterattack comes down here from KeeN, taking that out. A scan to kill the DTs as well.
Yeah, KeeN once again attacking the natural expansion here for herO, and you know, herO, he's going to attack right back there at KeeN, takes out the middle base. He's going to be reinforcing back at home, even going for a recall there. So he does not want to go into a base trade situation. I think that, you know, herO in his position, he still feels like he has complete control over this game. So just play the slow, methodical way, clean up this counter-attacking army, and then go for the push.
The attack comes down here now, and again, there's nowhere that really KeeN right now can actually stay and fight. It's just a matter of herO trying to find him and then push him away. Now, herO's taken a lot of damage, but the reality is that herO just has a lot more of the map. The 4 bases that we've seen KeeN be on, he's been on for a long time. He's actually opted to not make some more probes here and instead fill this up with a larger supply of just general Protoss army units. We see KeeN trying to come in here and sandwich, but I think just no matter how you cut it, this is so much damage.
The disruptor shots are just absolutely huge there from herO, as this Protoss force is nigh unstoppable. And KeeN, he put up a great fight, but herO taking a command in game number 1. And I love that play there from herO. He was, you know, solid from start to finish. There were some moments where it felt like, you know, KeeN was just trying to start any possible fire on the map that he could to keep herO from coming across and just straight up killing him. And it worked for a long time, and it felt like KeeN actually had some fight in him. You know, there were avenues that he was trying to create to start a comeback, but herO just too solid in pretty much every single situation. They're able to, you know, put those fires out, reconsolidate his forces, and eventually going through with one big push to end it.
I gotta say, KeeN looked very good. That was a much better, closer game than I thought we were going to have from him. herO, he was very wise in that he did not ever overextend. He would basically just kind of pull back and be like, all right, then come into me again. Come attack me, come hit me, and then he'll shave that army off. I love the mass DTs coming out to just shut down the command centers. That's really when you can see that we're in a very late game PvT where the Protoss has the funds to basically overspend just to commit to shut down one of the few Terran bases that the Terran has left.
Yeah, PvT overall has been kind of a difficult matchup for Protoss players, but it's not because of the Supreme late game generally. It's usually Terran coming in with attacks that do big damage, whether it be in the early game or in the mid game. It's those kind of harassment
I think it's
plays.
one of the toughest mid games in StarCraft 2 is the Protoss is trying to kind of just not take that right amount of damage that things spiral out of control. You know, we didn't have Widow Mine drops there early on, but that's one of the big features of the early game of the matchup is like if your screen is in the wrong place and you don't respond in time, you can lose like 6 workers, and you know, that can basically be fatal in a professional StarCraft 2 game.
Yeah, in that game, we just saw herO fill out his full tech tree. You know, he had Templars, he had Archons, Colossi, Disruptors, Immortals, he had Blink DTs. There's really not much more you want in a PvT in that position. And on top of that, he had so much map control that, I mean, he was just given too much space. He was able to build this massive bank, and then even when KeeN would come through with these big plays and, you know, kill a good number of probes, herO had such a comfortable lead up until that point. He's like, okay, I will just remax on more army, and then it's going to be even harder for you to get more damage done. And eventually my army will just straight up win, as we saw a very lopsided final engagement there. I mean, that Protoss army, it is tough to beat someone that has an army that complex and that high tech.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun game overall. Again, I'm very pleasantly surprised at how well KeeN is playing here. Yeah. herO does come out on top. Nothing really fancy at the start from either of those two players here. They played a very good straight-up late-game PVT. By the way, we don't get a lot of long PVTs. It's not like TVZ.
No, and I kind of like late-game PVT quite a bit. I like the dynamics of warp prisms and, doom drops with medevacs and recalls and those positional plays that happen that we got a little bit of a taste of there in game number 1. And it's a shame we don't get more late-game situations like that one. I think it's really fun.
Something that was kind of funny, and I almost am not sure if I was seeing it right, but there was something about the webcam with KeeN where like occasionally like a trumpet would come up over the webcam or like
Wait, really?
a little drawing or like a hand. I don't think that's our production, so I don't know if there's some setting on his webcam that I don't know if we're gonna have a pro gamer that's suddenly gonna have like a dog nose and dog ears, but
face filters coming out or something like that.
It happened once at the start. I went, what? Like,
yeah.
Okay, it was like a little trumpet came up, and then there was another time. Right around when they GG'd, like a little hand emoji, like
it was like a waving emoji or like a.
It was like over his face.
It's like hiding his face or something. I
swear I'm not making this up. I saw something going on. I'm like, okay, that can't be us.
No, I believe you. I gotta say, like sometimes when I'm watching StarCraft, I mean, whether it be casting here or watching games at home, I get such tunnel vision that I don't notice anything. Like if you asked me after that, it's like, did we have player cams during that game? I probably wouldn't know.
Oh, that's definitely a thing that happens if you're really focused and trying to talk the whole time.
Yeah.
You'll miss stuff that's,
I mean, especially me as a former Protoss player. I mean, I guess I still play Protoss, but as a former pro player for Protoss, I just nerd out so hard, especially getting to watch herO play. So you don't want to miss anything that he does.
Yeah, I mean, we have this, especially when we started for GSL, but even like right now with Artos and me both casting ASL, we have to like remember to not just go hardcore into like our perspective of the race and like completely miss the big picture. So that can definitely happen. I guess there's been a slight delay. We haven't hopped into Royal Blood yet here for map number 2. I don't know if that's because they're trying to get that cam thing fixed or what.
They don't want any more trumpets.
I think they should leave it on, to be honest. I think that's just a better show with it.
I want to see it. I feel like I'm missing out now that I didn't notice it in game number 1.
Oh, it's his... Okay, so all right, we've got it confirmed. We've got it confirmed. So it's a Discord setting where if he presses a certain key,
he's getting emotes that
show up over his face.
Let's just do it, man.
Well, no, leave it on. This is better. I like this more.
I don't mind it, man. Especially.
So he's trying to turn it off. So that's what we're waiting for.
I
personally am against this. I think they should have him leave it on. This is hilarious.
I mean, the APM these guys.
I'm glad I'm not insane because I'm like you're talking. I go like. Did I see a trumpet? Did I see a red trumpet over his face? And I go, keep it together, Tasteless. You can do this.
That is really funny, though, that it actually picks it up because,
yeah.
StarCraft 2 has the ability in the game engine to kind of mute some keys. Like, there's options in the game settings to disable the Windows key so you don't, accidentally do it when you go to,
for that.
Yeah, I used to do that all the time.
Back in the day, if you went to an old StarCraft tournament, you had to get, a ruler and break the Windows key off of the keyboard.
Yeah, people still do this. I think your keyboard actually is missing a couple of keys from that age.
I've never owned a keyboard that doesn't have the Windows key missing because I'm too used to just feeling the gap in the keys.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why those keyboards with macro keys, I can never get into it. I understand having a button that you can rebind to doing something else. I mean, obviously not a macro because that's not allowed in tournament play. One key press has to be one action in the game.
Right.
Having control groups there, I like that in theory, but I always think that the leftmost macro key is the control key, and then I'm not binding control groups, and I'm just getting wrecked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trials and tribulations of being a StarCraft player.
Well,
man. Too many key presses.
It's a lot. It's a lot to do, man.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully he gets that sorted out. But as soon as he does, we're going to go into this game. So right now, herO 1-0 versus KeeN. It was actually a great game 1 if you just now are joining us. And now we just need KeeN to get his play improved and his Discord settings fixed so we can get those emojis off of there.
I don't know, man. He was playing pretty well.
I think the
Discord
emojis were helping him.
Maybe they're giving him power.
Yeah.
Keep those things on, man.
Maybe we're going to have this whole meta of just everybody has Discord emojis on.
It's funny, too.
We can't explain why, but it makes them play better.
I wonder what keys it is that's activating the emojis because I've never seen this before, but... God, it must be funny, though.
It must be a key that he's hitting for an upgrade, because it wasn't happening all the time.
Yeah, can you imagine
it wasn't it was, the key for Marauder or something, where it's we just see.
Can you imagine if it's Protoss and it's F2 and A? So it's just nothing but trumpets showing up on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, it must be a key that is pressed, because I only saw 2 emojis, but I imagine there were probably a lot that were coming out, because I saw it and didn't even remark on it because I thought I must be like losing my mind. I thought this was the cast where I lose my marbles. And yeah, why does it smell like burnt eggs? Ah!
Yeah, well, hopefully we will get that sorted. And
I think it's not sorted yet.
yeah.
Well,
feels like the good old
days. This wouldn't be a GSL without a long delay.
Yeah.
We just sit here and talk.
I feel like we got pretty lucky in some of the later seasons of last year. We didn't really have too many tech delays.
Well, I think one thing the show's always done well is if there is a problem, it's not a thing the next time. But this is the first time we're doing GSL where the players are from home.
Yeah, so they have to do the webcam.
So they have to do, and I guess they do this through Discord. So
yeah.
So we'll see. I can see that they're trying to figure it out here, talking in the lobby.
Yeah.
But it's good to be back here with you guys doing GSL again. I mean, I'm glad we have another year of this. I can't believe it's gone on as long as it has.
Yeah, man. I remember being, a young kid. God, wait, 2010 was when we started GSL.
2010, yeah. That's
I
right.
was in high school, I think, watching you and Dan cast GSL.
Were you a senior or were you a junior?
I was a senior in high school.
Senior in high school. This
casting
is so crazy.
GSL.
Yeah.
I remember I went to college after that, and I was doing really bad in all of my classes because I was such a nerd. I would have my notebook out, and I would look like I'm taking notes. I would just be theory crafting StarCraft notes. I'm like, all right, I'll build my pylon on 9 and 13 gateway. And it's like, okay, what if I tried going for a Twilight Council and then 4 more gates? How would that play out?
That's what's so great about StarCraft is you can obsess over it and really think. You can really think about it a lot and then come and lab out stuff over there. I had the same thing when I was in high school. I was
it was some of the
drawing the maps and trying to memorize build orders. And
I didn't realize it at the time, but that was really one of the highlights of my life was StarCraft 2 coming out and what a big deal it was. And the hype and the storylines out here in the GSL and no one really knowing what the best strategies are or how you should play the game.
That was the funnest part.
And the balance changes happening all the time and the maps getting changed.
And I remember being in Korea and everybody's like, okay, well, who's going to be the best?
Yeah.
Is it going to be the Warcraft 3 guys? Is it going to be the StarCraft Brood War guys? Is it going to be just a whole new group of people? Maybe nobody be able to switch over? And then just seeing all the different strats and the different units that were being used. And, when you look at any RTS game, you can be completely off on what's good and what's bad with units,
Right.
All right, I think we've got it fixed.
Okay. No more emojis here coming out of KeeN.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Maybe he just gets 2-0'd and there's going to be a sad emoji that has nothing to do with Discord.
He opens Discord up and re-enables them just to make a sad face.
So we're going to go to Royal Blood. We apologize for the delay, but it looks like we got it fixed. Hero vs. KeeN continues on for Group B, Match 1 in the GSL, Code S. Let's go.
DKZ Gaming, herO.
I almost feel like the robot voices have gotten toned down a little bit today. Am I crazy about that?
It's like the robot's more tired today.
Guangdong
It didn't
Freaks,
sleep. It was too busy
slow on
rewatching that last game we had for Group A.
I'm curious to see what kind of builds herO has prepared here.
We got to keep in mind too that herO probably thinks he can win this GSL. And by the way, this is no disrespect to KeeN, but sometimes if you're one of the players like Maru or herO, or you're trying to actually navigate fully a 16-person tournament, because that's kind of what you do, which is why you're so rich with prize pool money and so famous for the great games, is that a player like KeeN, you might not really bring anything special out with, because I think he just feels like he's probably a little bit better. If it was an RPG character, his stats would all be a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And maybe he just wants to play a straight-up game, because why would you show the best PvT strats when you know there are actually so many good Terrans in this specific GSL, Code S?
It's one of the reasons why we often see a lot of all-ins come out, really cheesy plays from very top players early in the rounds of tournaments, because not only is it a skill check on your opponent, I mean, I know that for having played in Pro League and gotten proxy gated out of the one game that I got to play there. But it also has the added benefit of exactly what you said. I mean, for these top-tier championship caliber players, it really is a marathon. It's not a sprint. herO is thinking beyond just Group B, although, of course, he's going to try his best to advance and think about, what kind of builds and what kind of strategies he should keep in his back pocket should he meet Maru in the next round, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Just try to bank up what you can so that when you really have to do the crazy stuff, it's going to be the first time your opponent's seeing it. We've seen a lot of big shifts as well here in the metagame overall. We had a good amount of TVZs yesterday. It was interesting to see the double racks Wallen at the expansion entrance with Reapers coming out, actually doing damage for the first time ever, it feels like. And you remember the season before that state, we were talking about, Terran's going for command center first into 2-base all in. So things have changed a lot, and it seems like PBT is no exception as well.
Yeah, herO going for an early Zealot here, going to try and apply a bit of pressure. KeeN just going to throw down a bunker back at home, so won't be any hiccups in his build from that one Zealot, as herO just mixing it up a little tiny bit here with his openings. I wonder if there's any kind of special sauce you can cook here with one Adept and a Zealot to try and get some damage in. But with that bunker, I feel like...
I think you just can't.
Yeah, you just can't.
Look at how big this ship is in the wheat next to this command center. You got to be able to make that in the game.
That's where the players flew in on, man. herO's got
That's
one
right.
of those too.
That's where his command center flew out of. So we have 3 command centers being made right now for KeeN. This is not a bad way to open. We have seen it get abused by Stalkers with Blink. In this case, we don't have Stalkers with Blink. We have, oh, by the way, an Adept actually gets in here in Scouts.
That's so funny. Actually, this SCV, these SCVs with the wall being lifted like that. Oh, herO actually picks off another SCV there. I wasn't aware he had so much damage done on the building one. So herO not only with a full scout here because KeeN had that wall in incomplete or not down, but also getting an SCV pick. And I mean, you take that any day of the week here as herO. herO going for a DT build himself. Warp Prism underweight too. So, benefit here for KeeN is that he's going for the Cyclone, and on top of that, he also will have 3 orbital commands, so there should be no lack of scans to stop this Dark Shrine.
Now, I mean, any kind of early attack can be pretty devastating to a player that went for 3 command centers. I'm curious how DTs are going to do against this. There is a Cyclone out, which is sort of the de facto deflect-all of harass. And obviously having 3 orbitals means you're going to have scans, but, sometimes you can kind of run and hide with the DTs. So this is going to be an interesting moment here. He's making another gate, and he's making an immortal. So remember that he saw 3 command centers. DT Blink, by the way.
Yeah, DT Blink also being researched here. I was thinking that we might see herO go straight for a 3rd base off of this Blink drop, but it looks like instead he's just going to power up a little bit more on 2 bases. And okay, clutch scan coming in here by KeeN. Will confirm.
Does he have a scan for this DT? These DTs, actually. He's got 2 over here. It's like he scans and sees the tech and then can't see the DTs that are actually attacking him.
Yeah, the command center in the main base looks like it's almost at 50 energy. That scan now does come through, and he will be able to pick off this DT here at the natural expansion, but the one in the main base still getting a lot of damage, and herO, he's got to be really happy with this right now. There is a turret coming down in the natural base, so that will secure that position from any future harassment. But if he gets that Cyclone, for a second I didn't see that SCV. I thought he was going to kill it.
Well, I think he's going to get it anyways. Yeah, he takes that out. And remember, DT Blink's going to finish, so when he gets a scan, you could just blink out of range.
Man, this is just going so well here for herO. As did not anticipate so much damage coming in. Unfortunately, that DT does go down before Blink is able to finish. We'll see if there is a follow-up drop. There are 2 more DTs here in this Warp Prism, so there is potential for that play. And herO wants to make it happen. He's chrono boosting that Dark Shrine.
Now, if he gets a couple more DTs with Blink, you have to wonder, is there going to be an opportunity to just Blink on top of stuff? This was one of the funny things that came with Blink itself. Hold on.
It looks like he might start trying to play for that. Trading some DT HP to try and kill some Marines there. He might want to go for one of those plays where he just kind of blinks on top of everything and tries to clean out a small section of KeeN's army.
It's a funny thing with DTs because we don't really think of them as fighting units. Like, usually when they're good is when they're not being seen, and then when they're spotted, they die out. But if you have a bunch, well, I guess he's just going to go for Archons, actually.
Yeah.
Now,
this is another very good opportunity here, especially with some of these SCVs already damaged.
Yeah, and I mean, you can always do damage with these Archons and just lose the shields and, kind of be fine. Especially when the SCVs group together. Dude, this is 15 kills. This is insane.
Yeah, that feels...
Look at that. It's just a graveyard of SCVs.
That feels like almost game-ending damage. I mean, obviously we're going to keep playing it out. KeeN, he does not want to go down 2-0 here in the first match, and there are potential avenues for him to try and navigate a victory here, but the early DT harassment already felt so good there for herO, more than he bargained for. And then to have the SCVs bunch up like that and have 16 more
There's
fall.
2 Immortals here too.
Oh my
It's
god.
like, what's in the drop this time?
Yeah, this is brutal.
This is like Noah's Ark of Protoss drops. Just 2 of each kind of units coming in there to end the game. It's just,
I love that analogy, man. It really is.
wow. All right, and then he loaded everything up on the Ark. All right, so
Well, let's see if KeeN is going to be able to survive the flood here because, I mean, herO, it looks like he's getting ready for this. It looks like, I missed this on the production tab, but it does seem like these Zealots do have charge. And yeah, charging in right now. Those Immortals going to quickly dispatch the bunker and the siege tank.
GG, that's it.
Yeah, force field comes in on the natural ramp, and that is KeeN getting obliterated right there by herO with some phenomenal early DT and Archon play. I mean, that just did so much damage, more than you would ever hope to accomplish in pretty much any opening. Just KeeN was unprepared.
The DTs started it, and it's funny, like we saw the scan, and we were like, oh, nice, he sees it, and then we go back and there's like 2 DTs, 1 in each middle line calculated speed. It's like, uh-oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he didn't bank up any scans. So the DTs started it. Archons came in there and almost did so much damage I wasn't even ready for it. It was like 15 or 16 SCVs killed. And then the push, you know, with the Immortals, I mean, he made it look very easy. KeeN may be playing a little bit too greedy in that game too. We're going to go to a break. We come back. The next match in Group B. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.